Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Virtual University. I'm Shakil Amjad and this is Business Communication for you. How are you doing? How are you getting along with business communication? We have studied so far a few principles of business communication. We studied clarity and we knew that how important clarity is. Why should we make simple sentence? Why should we bring simple words in our sentences? We studied courtesy and we knew that how important courtesy is, that how we can achieve this principle. And we studied correctness, that how important correctness principle is and how we can make our communication correct. So we begin our next principle. Let's read first a letter. Dear Mr. Naim, we've been pleased to sell fine furniture items for more than 2 decades. We supply the finest products to customers from all over the country. We are proud to be the only dealer in this area for both AB & Co. and BC & Co. Our record shows at least a 10% increase in sales every year since Classic Furniture was founded in 1965. If you receive such a letter, what do you feel as a reader? I mean, the writer of the letter has used too many we. If we analyze the letter, we may feel that this letter is a sort of self-centered letter. The writer has focused on himself. No sentence of the letter shows that the letter is written from the reader's point of view. All the focus is on the writer. We doing this, we've been doing this, we are this, we are that, so and so, etc. So if you find such a letter, your response is not going to be positive. It may create a negative response in you as a reader. So just suppose that if you have to write a letter and you use this we approach in your letters, what is going to be with your reader? What is he going to feel about your letter? Obviously, he will simply think that the message is not for him. The writer of the letter wants to tell the reader about himself. So such a letter can create negative feelings in the reader. And being a writer, being a good communicator, you must avoid this thing. This letter lacks empathy. This letter lacks you attitude. This letter lacks a very important principle of communication, and that is consideration. So, whenever you are writing letters, you are writing memos, reports, letter, or you are sending messages of any type, the most important thing for you is to be in the shoes of your reader. To feel how is your reader going to react to your letter. How he is going to feel about your letter. The same way as when you read a letter, how you feel about it. So, to achieve this, consideration, you need to follow certain guidelines. The same guidelines as we had in the previous principles. So, let's see that what consideration principle has for us. Consideration means writing every letter with your reader in mind. It also means acting on the you attitude. When we put ourselves in our reader's place, we are considerate. We can understand our reader's desire, problems, circumstances, and emotions. This thoughtful consideration is exactly what you attitude is. So we can achieve it through different guidelines. So what is consideration? Consideration is to be in the shoes of your reader, in the place of your reader. I mean, when you are writing a letter, you got to think of your reader, that what are his problems, what are his emotions, how is he going to react to your letter, what he expects from you. So when you think of your reader in this way, you have empathy for your reader, you have feelings for your reader. You will certainly try to give him all the information in that way which is acceptable to him. We all know that in a business context, we have to chalk out messages, both good messages and bad news messages. Because as a writer, we have to deal with all types of situations. So, when we are writing good news messages, the messages are good for the reader. He may not think of any aspect, any unpleasant aspect or aspect that is not very positive. But when we are dealing with bad news messages, for example, we have to refuse an inquiry, we have to refuse an order, we have to make a complaint, we have to refuse an adjustment, we have to write letters threatening legal action in the last stage of collection series. So when we are dealing with such types of messages, we need to think from the reader's angle that how he is going to take the message that we are sending to him. So we need to be very thoughtful. We need to consider the reader, his problems, his desires, his emotions, his circumstances. Maybe, for example, there is a customer who hasn't paid you so far and the time is due for his payment, rather overdue, and you got to write. You got to give him a time, a chance to explain that why he is not sending you the payment, instead of writing a very direct letter or a message. So always achieve this principle in your correspondence, your messages, and this principle is consideration. So to achieve consideration, you need to follow certain guidelines, right? The first one is focus on you instead of I and we. Show audience benefits or interest. Emphasize positive, pleasant fact. So the first principle is focus on you instead of I and we. The letter I just read for you is a we attitude letter. Every sentence of the letter gives the impression to the reader that it was the writer of the letter who want to picture himself instead of picturing the customer, the reader. So how can we achieve this quality? Let's see what are the principles for this. So as I said, focus on you instead of I and we. So if you find such a sentence in a letter that we are delighted to inform you that we are going to open our store for another 2 hours. So what's in for you? it may benefit the writer of the letter. But if the same message is found in this way, that you will be pleased to know that now you can shop for another extra hour or extra 2 hours. So it means that now the writer has written the letter from your point of view, from your angle. So always write letter emphasizing you attitude instead of I or we attitude. Let's read a letter and see that whether this letter has a you attitude or we or I attitude. Dear Mr. Tariq, we are pleased to have you as a new student at Business College. We offer many advantages to our students. We have the latest audio-video teaching aids in our classrooms, and our faculty are among the most dedicated in the country. We are very proud of our 100% placement rate for our graduates. So, if you look at this letter, again this letter shows we attitude. I mean, every sentence beginning with we. So, you feel that the writer of the letter is a self-centered man. He has selfishly given a picture of himself. So there is nothing for you in it. All the focus is on the writer instead of the reader. So be very careful when you are planning, designing, chalking out, drafting your messages, any type of messages, internal messages or external messages. What you need to know is that you have to write your messages from you attitude, from the readers in your mind, keeping the reader in your mind, his problems, his desire, his circumstances, his emotions, whatever, so that the reader could feel that you have written the letter for him. You want to convey some message, whether this message carries in some good news or some bad news. So we will see that writing letter is very important, especially from reader's point of view. So when you write a letter, the most important thing in your mind should be your reader, and then you should start writing, start telling him what you want to convey him, right? So let's move on to the next. Show audience benefit or interest. Your reader is likely to show response positively when you show them benefits. Even in conveying unfavorable messages to your reader, you can plan it in a way the reader finds some benefits. So, we can always give something to our reader while writing bad messages. For example, in collection series, we have to write sometime very unpleasant letters threatening legal actions. So even in these types of letters, we can give a chance, give a benefit to our reader that if the check is received, there won't be any problem for him. So always keep in your mind that whenever you are writing your letter, you are giving some benefits. The reader of the letter feels that he has received something for you after he has read the letter, after he has received the message. So this is what brings consideration in your communication. What is the third guideline for it? Emphasize positive, pleasant facts. Another way to show you attitude for your reader is to present fact in a positive, pleasant way. For example, dear Mr. Tariq, I'm sorry that we are presently out of stock of black handbags and will be unable to fill your order at this time. An order has been placed with the manufacturer in the color you want. We'll receive shipment after 10 days. I trust this delay will not inconvenience you. Yours very sincerely. So, if you look at this letter, again there is nothing positive for the reader. It feels that the reader is being slapped down. Obviously, it happens in our business situations that a lot of time we receive an order and we are unable to fill the order. But writing these types of letter without any consideration can kill our future dealings with the customers. So if we rewrite the same letter using this principle of consideration, we can show the reader that we care for him, that we are considerate, that we want him to benefit from his dealing with us. So let's look at this letter after going through with consideration. Dear Mr. Tariq, thank you for ordering a black handbag. The color you chose proved to be very popular, and we quickly sold all we had in stock. However, we've placed a rush order for more and our promised delivery within 10 days. Yours will be shipped the same day our new supply arrives. I know you will be delighted with the unique carry-on handbag. Mr. Tariq, it's not only very handsome but incredibly inexpensive. Yours very sincerely. So, if you look at this letter which is rephrased with consideration, this letter has a different effect on the reader. Though there is a delay for the reader who is waiting for the bag to receive, but when he receives such a letter, he is certainly going to be very happy that you care him a lot, that you want him to use your bag, and obviously you have won over the customer. Now there won't be any problem. He won't be angry because during this delay he has received some message from you. You are in communication with him. So using consideration can make a successful communicator. If we bring letters in a positive frame of mind, by using these principles, we can be very successful communicator. So this is consideration. And what consideration is? Consideration is that you chalk out your messages, design your messages in the shoes of your receiver, your reader, thinking what are his problems, thinking what are his circumstances, thinking about his emotion. So always write your messages with consideration. You know that I said that you have to form a new set of writing habits. You have to learn that how you can best explain yourself, how you can achieve your benefit, and how you can give benefits to your reader through your communication. So this is what business communication is all about. Now we go on to the next principle, that is clarity. Clarity again is a very important principle of business communication. Dear Mr. Tariq, thank you for ordering a black handbag. The color you chose proved to be very popular, and we quickly sold all we had in stock. However, we have placed a rush order for more and our promised delivery within 10 days. Yours will be shipped the same day our new supply arrives. I know you will be delighted with the unique carry-on handbag. Mr. Tariq, it's not only very handsome but incredibly inexpensive. Yours very sincerely. So now if you look at this letter is full of consideration, due attitude. The customer who is in the mind, the reader who is in the picture. The writer is talking about the reader's problem, reader's emotions, not about his own emotions. So, courtesy can bring such softness in your letters, this quality in your letters, that your reader feels that you are doing whatever you are doing for his sake. He feels that you have planned the letter for him, not you are telling about yourself. So, whenever you are writing letters, messages, think that how your reader is going to feel, how you can give him the sense of you attitude, empathy, consideration. This will make you a very successful communicator. And you know that we want to be very successful communicators. We have to learn, we have to adopt new habits, a new set of habits, cultivate a new set of habits. So, be very positive when you are writing letter, think of the benefit of your reader, explain facts in positive way, give some benefit even if you are writing negative messages. But obviously, in some certain situations, we feel that writing letters, starting messages with you can be negative, So, be very careful that you have to think in mind that whenever you have to write letter, whenever you have to use this you attitude, this you attitude should be used for some positive purpose. And if you feel that writing you attitude can give a sense of negativity to your reader, avoid. There come certain situations. So, be very careful. You have to cultivate this sense in you, that when and when not to use this. Now, let's move on to the next principle, that is completeness. Completeness principle is also very important. It's quite close to clarity, but let's see that what's this completeness principle is. We say, a business message is complete when it contains all facts that the reader or listener needs for the reaction you desire. Senders and receivers are influenced by their background, viewpoint, needs, experience, attitude, status, and emotion. Because of their difference, the receiver needs to be sure that he has included all relevant information. Completeness is closely related to clarity. So, a complete letter is what? Which has all the information that the reader requires. Whenever a writer is writing a letter, he wants to convey some information to the reader. But it's very important that he must keep in his mind the background, the experience, the status, the viewpoint of the reader. So, it will determine that what is to be conveyed and what is not to be conveyed. And this will make the letter complete. Completeness is a very desirable quality, because if your letter is complete, it can bring back the desired result. Obviously, for example, if you want to know about certain items you are interested in purchasing, and you have given all the specification about that goods, about that commodity. So the reader will be in a better position to tell you, and you will have your desired results. So by completing your letter, you get the desired result. Not only you get the desired result, it achieves goodwill for you. It saves your time as well as your reader's time. Because if you write complete letters, giving complete information, so there would be only one answer to it. But if you send some incomplete information, simply in that case, there will be another letter asking you that what exactly you want. For example, if you want to buy a certain type of computer, you need to tell that exactly what type of computer you want. You got to give certain specifications. So if you simply write that I want to buy a computer of a certain company and you do not give any specification, there will be a letter from the reader asking you what about these specifications. So it will cost you and your reader. Besides, it helps us in certain other way. It helps us from going into lawsuits. So especially when we are making contracts of different types, such as placing an order, because it's also a type of contract. We need to give complete information, failing which can sometimes take us to lawsuits, court of law. So complete letters are very important. Completeness brings desired results. They save us from lawsuits. They help us earn goodwill in the market, and they build up our image within the organization and outside the organization. So you must write your letter which are complete. Completeness principle must be followed. It's quite near to clarity, as I just said. So clarity, bringing your message across. So when you send your message, conveys your message from your mind to your reader's mind, you are giving complete information. So that's why it's closer to clarity. So we have guideline for it too. So let's see what is this guideline. Provide all necessary information. Your reader needs to know how much, what size, what type, and other details. To achieve this, your message should answer the 5 W's and 1 H. So provide all necessary information. If you want to invite somebody to your organization, you need to tell him that when do you want that gentleman to come, why, what is the purpose, and how it's going to be. So in most of the letter, we give information having these 5 W's and 1 H in mind, and we want information to receive having all these 5 W's and 1 H. So when you are writing a letter, be very careful about these things, because they will help you in giving complete information and in receiving complete information. Whereas, for example, you are placing order, what size you want, how do you want the things to the assignment to reach you, what is going to be the method of payment, of mode of transportation. So these what, where, when, why, etc. and how are very helpful in conveying messages, in writing messages. They can bring completeness in our messages. So whenever you are going to write messages, take care of these 5 W's and 1 H. So the other guideline is answer all questions asked, replying to an inquiry or request, answer all questions asked, and even anticipate the reader's reaction by providing other relevant information. So, answer all questions. Obviously, when you receive an inquiry, in an inquiry, sometimes it is simply about some price list catalog of your company. But sometimes there are details about some color, details about sizes of the product, details about certain other specification, details about the delivery of the product, details about discounts, etc. So there are a lot of questions in one letter. It's very important that you must answer all the questions. And sometimes you feel that there should be any question, an important question regarding a certain message, and you feel that if the writer of the letter has not asked that, you must give an answer to that question, the question that is already in your mind. So this is very important that you must answer all the questions. It can be achieved through this technique, that whenever you receive a question, you have a pen or a ballpoint or a pencil in your hand, and when you are reading it, just underline and number that question number 1, question number 2, question number 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. So when you are going to write an answer to such a letter, what are you going to do? You are going to write answer to each question asked. And as I told you, sometimes there is no question asked, but you feel that there should be this question too. So you give an answer to that question. This can be very helpful. So to achieve completeness, answer all the questions, and the questions that are asked and the questions that are implied, that have not been asked, but you think that they need to be answered. So this is the second principle to achieve completeness. And what's the third principle? Give something extra when desirable. Sometimes as an intelligent writer, you know what your reader may need to know about any certain thing. In this case, you must include anything that is of your reader's benefit. So, as I just said, that as an intelligent reader, whenever you feel that you need to give some extra information to your reader, do give it. For example, if somebody has asked you about one certain product of your company, and you think that there can be other things which will give your reader a better choice, a better way to pick it, it's better that you give him extra information. Sometimes we invite people to our organizations. So it's very positive and brings completeness that if we properly guide them, that how they can reach our place. So if we are considerate, we'll be sure to give complete information. We'll picture our customer, we'll be in the shoes of our reader, that how he is going to feel about this situation and what he needs. So when we are in the shoes of our reader, in the place of our reader, we can picture that what are his problems. So this thing can bring completeness in our messages. So let's look at a letter which has this completeness. I don't want to give you always a bad letter. Sometime let's look at some good letter. And do you remember that in the last lecture I said that if you want to be a very good communicator, what you need to do is you need to look at good example as well as bad example. Number 1 and number 2, you need to write letters, memos, reports, etc. of your own to see that how are you improving. So this will help you a lot, I tell you. So let's read this letter. Dear Mr. Naim, we are setting up our new course program on Monday, August 21. We should very much like to have you as our guest speaker. Our members have a particular interest in hearing a talk on how to give better presentations. As a matter of fact, we are all interested in finding out how we could help ourselves with our presentation problems. Our program calls for a 50-minute presentation by the speaker, but you may take more or less time as you wish. I hope you can accept this invitation. If you can, I shall write you again, giving you all the details, time, place, and complete program plans. Cordially yours. So if you look at this letter is complete. It gives every type of information that the reader requires. I mean, the reader wants to know that why he is required. So you have given at what topic he is required to be taught. It's there. So this letter contains all the information, and you have also added the last paragraph telling him that if he accepts this invitation, he will be provided further information. So students, whenever you are going to write your letters, be sure that your letters are complete. And to make your letter complete, to achieve this principle of completeness, what you need to know, you need to answer all the questions. You need to give extra information. You have to keep in mind 5 W's and 1 H, etc. And be sure that it builds up your image, your goodwill, yours as well as your organization's goodwill. So we come on to the next principle, that is concreteness. So if you make such a statement that your results have been excellent, this type of a statement lacks concreteness. Compare it. If you say that your results have been 90% or your results have been 95%. So in that case, you are concrete, you are definite, you are vivid. So this is what concreteness principle is. A lot of time we talk about any issue, we discuss any issue, and we find that the topic has some vagueness in it. The things are not very clear. So when we encounter such a situation, it means that we lack concreteness principle. If we write such a letter that please send us this order as early as possible, we are becoming vague. But if we write that please send us this order by 21st August or give any date, we are vivid. The reader knows that when the order is to be filled. So there is no chance of vagueness or anything else. So you also need to look at this principle very carefully. So let's see what it is. Concreteness means that a message is specific, definite, and vivid. If a message lacks these qualities, it will be vague and general. To achieve concreteness, denotative words will be used instead of connotative words. By using concrete facts and figures, you can make your reader show exactly what is required or desired. Concrete messages are more richly textured. They avoid vagueness. So, to achieve concreteness, we need to use denotative words instead of connotative. You must remember that while studying, discussing convention of meaning, we said that we got to be very particular in the use of word. When we are using words, we must be sure that they are simple, understandable, they are being used in the dictionary meaning. So using word in the dictionary meaning is using word denotatively, and using word in a suggestive way, in a qualitative way, is using words connotatively. So be very careful that you must use words in the simple dictionary meanings. To achieve concreteness, you also need to give facts and figure in a concrete way, the way they are very understandable to your reader, your recipient of the message. So this can be achieved through these guidelines. Use specific facts and figures. Always use specific facts and figures in your messages. For example, please send us the following items by the end of this month. So if you write such a sentence, this has vagueness in it. What is the vagueness in it? End of the month. No need, no date is given. So you have put your reader into this frame of mind when he will have to think that when he is to place your order, there is a vagueness in it. Instead of this, if you write this sentence in this way, the following items should reach us on or before 21st August. Now the reader finds that when is the deadline, when he has to send your goods, assignments. So to achieve this concreteness principle, to bring vividness, definiteness into your letters, into your messages, be very careful not to use vague information in your letter. And another thing is, that is the next guideline, is use active verb in your sentences. We write sentences that are either active or passive. We have got two voices, active voice and passive voice. Simply explaining what active voice and passive voice is, that in active voice we have the doer of the action in its place. Before the verb we have the doer of the action. In a passive sentence, the subject is not the doer of the action, it's the object. For example, they have placed an order in which place is the verb and they is the subject, and we have subject in its place. The order was placed. In this sentence, the place is the subject, but it's not the doer of the action of place. Rather, it's the receiver of the action. So this is what we can say about active and passive verb. All we write in any message is either an active sentence or a passive sentence. Be very careful, because writing sentences using active and using passive verb conveys a lot of other things. Active verbs also make sentences specific, personal and concise. So one thing is that active verbs make sentences specific, personal and concise. Specific. You very surely know that who is the doer of the action. Personal. Since the subject is in the beginning of the sentence, so we convey. conveys himself. And concise, they place an order, they placed an order. It got 4 words in it. The order was placed by them. The order was placed by them. So it got 6 words. So an active sentence is always concise. It got fewer words. And a passive sentence is always a longer one. There is some addition of some verb in it. So we need to be very careful regarding. It doesn't mean that we should not use a passive sentence. We do use a passive sentence whenever it is required. But in a certain situation, and this is what you need to know, that in what situation we must write active sentences and in what situation we must write passive sentences, because this concept is very important, and every letter writer, every good communicator need to know all these things about the structure. I must say that you must learn the structure of a sentence, because this structure of a sentence is very important for your good communication. The foundation of good communication is basically the knowledge of pure English in its foundation, and all the rest of the things come after it. Unless you know the simple English, you are not going to add all these qualities that we are discussing about good communication. First, you must know the structure of the sentence. If the structure of the sentence is correct, then you can think of these qualities. So you got to put active verbs most of the time instead of passive verb, because active verb bring conciseness in your sentences, in your communication and other things. So you need to bring a specific facts into your communication. For this purpose you use active verbs. So the active verbs are specific. The chief executive decided. If we take up this sentence, the chief executive decided, this is more personal, concise, instead of saying a decision has been made by the chief executive. Well, see, second sentence is very long. So personal, you will note, it's a personal, instead of it will be noted. It's impersonal. It doesn't give a personal touch. It doesn't create a relationship between the reader and the writer. Conciseness. Figures show. If you change this, it is shown by the figures. So a longer sentence. Emphatic. Emphasize. The student held a contest. A contest was held by the students. So the first sentence emphasize the fact, whereas second doesn't. Similarly, when you are using active sentences, what you are doing, you are becoming personal specific. But when we are in a certain situation, like what I'm going to discuss, we need to use passive sentence instead of active sentence. So look at this. When you want to avoid personal blunt accusation or comments, you must use a passive sentence. When you want to avoid personal accusation or blunt comment, you need to use passive sentence. For example, instead of saying you are dismissed, if you say I dismiss you, I dismiss you is an active sentence, you are dismissed is a passive sentence. But you can understand that when you say I dismiss you and when you say you are dismissed, these two things are two completely different things. They are conveying to different bent of mind of the reader. So in such a situation, when we have to convey some unpleasant situation, we need to use passive instead of active. So similarly, when you want to stress the object of the action. Sometimes we need to give the object instead of telling about the subject. So it's better that we should use a passive sentence. For example, you are invited instead of saying I or we invite you. Similarly, when the doer isn't important in the sentence, in a lot of sentences, the doer is not important. So in this situation, it's better that we should write a passive sentence. For example, you are asked to take your seat. In a gathering, you make such a comment. So it's better that you use passive instead of I asked you to take your seat. Similarly, use verb instead of noun. So writing such a sentence in which you say, the duty of this department is the collection of bad debts. Here you have brought collection as a noun. If you say this department collects bad debts, this is more concise and vivid. Similarly, don't use infinitive. I mean, the duty of this department is to collect, because they hide the action. They hide the action. So these are few things that we can discuss about concreteness by avoiding whenever is important an active sentence, and by avoiding whenever is important a passive sentence. We can bring concreteness by conveying things in facts and figures in more vivid way. We can bring this concreteness into our communication. So we have discussed 7 principles of communication, or 7 qualities of communication. These are also called 7 C's, and these are very important. I'm sure that since we started the first quality, you have gone through a change regarding your communication. You must be sure now to know that how you can achieve clarity, completeness, consideration, courtesy, and correctness into your messages in anything that you write. So keep practicing. Write messages on your own and see the difference. First, take some examples, some good example, and read it, and then try to rewrite it, and you will feel the difference. And then making comparison of the two. So by doing this, you will improve day by day. Our purpose is not only to pass the examination, but also to improve these qualities in us. So I want that you must learn these principles and apply these principles into your daily life. In the next lecture, we'll see that we'll do some exercise regarding these principles and see that how much we have learned from these principles, these guidelines that we've been discussing in these 2-3 lectures. So it's all over for today. Before I should leave, I must tell you that I told you in the first lecture that these lectures will be bilingual, both Urdu and English. We had few lectures in Urdu, and now I think that we have developed a rapport. I mean, we have developed a relationship as teacher and student, and now you understand me to some extent, I'm sure. So I'll keep these lectures in English now, and I hope that there won't be any problem. You have studied a lot of things. So keep reading the books, keep listening the lectures, and keep practicing. And we finish our lecture of today. Thank you very much. Khuda Hafiz.